At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can coach your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades podcast with Cassie and Heather. So excited. I literally say so excited every single time, and I really am, because I feel like we get to talk to all of our friends all the time. Or even if we don't know you, we end up becoming friends with you. But Dayna, we actually know you, and I'm excited to have you here. So Dayna Hottle with CNC Heating and Air Conditioning. And where are you at again?
We are out of Detroit, Michigan.
Awesome. Okay. I feel like I knew that. That is the one thing about like internet friendships is I have so many friends that I genuinely feel like I know. And then I forget where you're from. And then
you forget where they're located.
Yeah. And I'm really geographically challenged. I've talked about this a few times on the show. I'm doing better, but I get really jacked up sometimes. I'll be like, wait, where's Michigan?
They're in a state that looks like the mitten.
The mitten.
Cool. Yes.
Cool. Well, can you, we know you from Next Star and some, conferences here and there. I think we originally connected. I don't know how we originally connected.
What's it called? The Peabody?
Oh, or the Peabody, yeah.
Yep,
the personal, so the Next Star,
all.
you could do the personal board of directors, and we had an all-female personal women of board of directors. Cool. Okay, so tell us your story.
Okay, you want the long story or the short story?
Which one do you want to share?
We'll go the long one. So my grandpa and great uncle started the business in 1948. My uncle retired. My great uncle retired. And it was just my grandpa, my uncle, and my grandma and one other employee. So that was in 1977. My grandpa, at the age of 53, had a massive heart attack, passed away. So it's left with my grandma, my uncle, who was like in his 20s, and one employee. And my uncle asked my dad to come on and join. My dad was actually working for Carrier as a TM at the time. So he was going around being a distributor, selling furnace and air conditioners to contractors. Came on to work, just temporarily. They end up buying the business from my grandma. And so it was my uncle and my dad that from 77, and my uncle retired in 2014. My dad bought him out, and I started working in college. My whole life. I mean, I was a kid in the trades, like coming in here, labeling postcards, answering phones in high school. Came on in college, working summers, was doing accounting and dispatching. We had like maybe 20 employees at that point. And so I was a senior in college and kind of just working through doing interviews. And my mom kind of put it in my ear like, hey, have you ever thought about coming on full time in the business? And at that point, she actually wanted me to be a comfort advisor. And I was like, no, I mean, this is 2005. And I was like, I really hadn't. And I was like, I could see the potential in the industry. They had taken me, we were airtime members. So I'd been to expos, saw these huge companies, saw these huge revenue numbers. I mean, there was companies back in 2005 doing, 10, $15 million. And I was just like, whoa. And they're making how much percentage or profit on that? $10 to $15 or $1 million. And so I was just like, my eyes were kind of open to the potential in the industry. And so came back full time in 2005, just kind of like doing everything, accounting, moved to dispatch, moved to CSR manager. And now just been running full time now for 20 years. My husband joined on full time 2020. So we had our first child. He was a high school athletic director.
Oh, wow.
And came on and so quit his full-time job, came on full-time. Because it was kind of like, at that point I knew I needed some more support. We were starting to start a family. And so now my dad's still actively involved. My mom works from home doing the books since 2010. So she hasn't actually gotten in the office in 15 years. And then my husband and I.
So who's the owners now? Did I miss that part?
Now it is my dad and mom are still. We're working through like buy sells, which is interesting just because of like I have two siblings that are not in the business. And there's one thing I wish I had known going into this. If like I could redo it, I wish I would have set up a buy sell at 2005 versus now. We had grown exponentially since 2005 when I came in. We were doing, I think, $3 million. And had I known, then what I know now, it would have been a lot easier to figure that out.
Right.
There's a lot of different components of like
Right.
dealing with, siblings and,
Is that your plan for you and your husband to purchase the
so
business
we're
from
already
your parents?
considered, owners, but we're not. It's not fully in our name or anything yet. So
what is your day-to-day job now?
General manager. So kind of just overseeing day-to-day operations. I've kind of been in this role for a while. My parents have a place in Florida, so they're kind of in and out snowbirds. And so.
Are you guys just residential?
We are strictly residential HVAC.
And then do you do new construction?
Nope.
No,
strictly
good. Okay.
residential or retrofit.
I have new construction PTSD. Yeah, awesome. So
I think we all have new construction PTSD.
Yeah, we were a commercial union in like the I think they got out in like the 90s. He had to buy out their contract. Yeah. Now it's all in, like, it was in the husband's names. Now it's in the spouse's names because of the, whole buyout out stuff.
Okay. So like, what does, so you said like, back when you first joined, you were on 3 million, like what does that growth look like now?
So right now we're pacing to do, we should be about 18 million for this fiscal year. Yeah, I have about 70 employees, 75 employees. Yeah, so
that sounds like we're about the same size now. And it's gone fast.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's about the same size.
We had
as
a
quality.
nice spurt during 2020 and then had the revert. And now the last 6 months has been, it's been crazy. So.
Well, what do you mean? Wait, hang on. You're 18 million in just HVAC.
Yeah, just HVAC.
We're pacing like 20, but we're HVAC, plumbing, and electric. So like that's huge. That's great. And we have, I think, 75 employees. Which there's so many things that like you said, like, I wish I had done back then that I relate to.
Had I known. Yeah. There's
not even just like had you known, but like when you grow to a spot where you have 70 families that you're responsible for, it's almost like you feel like when you look at it from the back, when maybe you only had 10 and you're like, one day everything will be perfect and I'll have 70 families and the cash flow will always be amazing and this will be great and blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is you get to 70 employees and you're like, oh my God, I'm responsible.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And then you see new faces and you're like, who's that?
Yeah.
I didn't meet that person.
I'm struggling with that right now because they've hired like 15 people in the last like month. And even though I know I've heard the names and I've seen them, this guy walked by me and I was like,
who are you?
I've got to go.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It is because I don't.
My husband and I still do interviews with every single applicant.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Because we were just, we have someone, I mean, we still have other people do interviews, but like we were bringing people on that didn't fit our culture. And it was just like, it was short lived. We'd have high turnover. It was just wasn't working out. So right now we're just like, this is our role, is to make sure we're bringing in people that
well,
like my husband always says, we want to have a kick butt company filled with kick butt people. He is another term, but
yeah. But no, I totally get that. And I think we've done a good job for us. Like we've hired the right team that can interview and we trust them. And Oscar almost always does the last interview or at least the last meet. But my days are filled so much lately that I don't always get to meet them. I know for sure he does. But so again, I just pop by and I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa, and so.
And then you're trying to like think of their name, like in the back of your head. There's people that I've interviewed and I'm like, oh
no, what was his name? 100% like I interviewed that person or I talked to them or they came and talked to me and then I'm like, oh my gosh. But so, you said something about the last 6 months have been, did you go to super meeting this year?
We did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things, like I missed The Economist, but Heather was there and she took great notes. And you had said like from that point, like we were going to have a bumpy 6 months. And then, who knows what's happening right now we kind of know what's happening with tariffs, but I subscribe to this theory of I know tariffs are happening and I know things are happening. However, if I let my brain go into the spot that we're doomsday or something like that, then we will be doomsday. So what works for Cassie is we have a plan, but I pretend it doesn't exist. Not the plan, but the tariffs and the things, because if I get too deep into believing that,
then it's just going to throw everything.
No, I think everything is going to it's going to stabilize. I mean, something is constantly going to change.
Right.
We're dealing with refrigerant issues. We're dealing with manufacturing issues. There's never going to be a time where we're going to go, oh, everything's easy. We can get what we want. It's at the price that we want to pay for it. Customers are buying. Nobody's mad. That's just not the utopia that it's ever going to be.
I feel like if we all made it through COVID, we're Gucci, like I know that there were things but still, I just think anyways, but so how has the last 6 months looked for you? Like
we made some major changes in our marketing, within the last year. We switched vendors, just like, we were using like a local TV advertiser and they just weren't working out. And it was just like boring, doing the same thing over and over again. And it was just like, it was just going nowhere. And so we made like major changes and everything. So it's just been like between like updating everything, making, updating vendors and then just making like changes within like all our marketing. It's just been, go time.
What was the catalyst that kind of pushed you guys to do that?
We're saying like stagnant, and it was just like we just knew we needed to make a change, and it was clear that's what we needed to focus on. We were being very reactive instead of proactive in terms of our marketing, and just like it would be February and it's like 2 weeks in and we're like, well, why the phone calls dry up? Like I knew why, because the marketing wasn't working. So we had a plan for February, but February, March, we did Everyone's a Winner. We based it off like March Madness, and it's been a great,
I think your marketing vendors and partners are the most important, and because the relationship, they have to know who you are as a company. One of our biggest growth pieces was when we hired Kaylee, and Kaylee, that's her job every single day, is she's managing not just the relationships, but our offers, and we're pivoting and we're making changes here and there. And I think that's the market we're in. That's the business we're in. Marketing. It's just all of the other pieces. Like, we're adding garage doors right now, and someone said, how are you? Why? And there's a whole strategy that I'm not going to get into, but at the end of the day, it's because we know marketing.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
And
even I already have a huge database of people that you don't necessarily are going to have to, you can tell them we do garage doors now,
Because yes, what we do is important. Excuse me, the heat and air, plumbing, electric, all those trades are absolutely, but we know how to take care of customers in their house, and we know how to market to people for that. And so I think that's a huge piece that often people just want to hire a vendor and just be like, do it for me. And
it's got to be an all hands on approach, and you have to dictate what's going on and what you're going to run. And it's just like, if you don't have that support from those vendors, like, to help like facilitate that. And the other thing is to get every single media channel on the same, your TV, your radio, it's impossible to do it one person. Like, you have to have.
Right. Well, we had a good conversation with Josh Crouch about this, where, the marketing is so key, but if the company that you hire isn't getting the feedback that they need from the business owner, they're kind of dead in the water to know how you want to drive your company forward. And I have to agree with Cassie. Hiring Kaylee was pivotal for quality, because she just is 100% of the time focusing on what is it going to take to put the brand out there that everybody can see it. And in more than just TV or radio or billboards, I remember the question coming to me, years ago. Somebody said, well, which avenue of marketing is working for you? And you can't put your finger on just one thing. If you're only doing one thing, you can't say all of your leads are coming from TV. It's really your brand and market saturation. They saw you on TV. They heard you on the radio. They saw the billboards. They saw the TikToks. They saw the social media. They saw the mailers come through. It's that constant putting yourself in front of the customers so that they get familiar with your brand.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, you can't just meet with them once a month and be like, hey, that was a bad month. And then it's done. Like, it's done and gone. Like, it's over.
Sometimes it's daily. Sometimes you have to have that finger on that pulse of that marketing campaign daily. And that's what Kaylee does for quality. And she does a fabulous job at it. And I think that you made a great point there in bringing up the whole marketing strategy for it.
Today in our huddle, specifically today, our HVAC director said, the demand calls have come sooner this year.
Okay. Are you like full AC season right now? Or are you like,
we're basically,
really
but it's still like 70s in the day.
Oh, you're so lucky. It was 20 degrees this morning.
No, there are 70s during the day, 30s and 40s at night. So we're not really in the full AC season, but she said the demand came early this year. And I said, let's step back and make no mistake, the demand didn't come early. Our marketing is working. And that's what we've gotten better year over year over year, of how, being strategic and paying attention to. Yeah. And like you said, Dayna, listen, we have plans now, but there are definitely times that we're like mid-month, like, whoo, that's not working. Let's reverse and pivot, start over, and something's got to change. That script is not working, and it did a million times, right?
Most businesses' online presence is boring, and by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Hard Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
You guys have like outbound goals and those types of things for them?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We actually brought in Shannon, our customer relations coach, and she worked through like a whole program for CSR team. It was awesome. But like, like how, we have like sheets that they can go through daily. And we're very fortunate because we are such a long standing brand and we have a huge club membership base that like, if it's not September, February, and March, we don't have to call outbound. Like we can fill our call board with just the incoming calls. Like we're very, very fortunate. But it's like that switch of when February, it's really hard to get our CSRs to realize, okay, now we have to do this and get back on board then outbound because we don't have, 9 months out of the year, it's not a thing for us. Like
how
we
many
don't have to
service
call out.
techs do you guys have?
We have 20, 21.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I can't even imagine. I mean, I can, but I'm just sitting here thinking what that looks like. I guess we have that many. It's just not all HVAC.
Probably easier for me because I don't have the multiple,
Yeah.
we're
Well,
just
because-
multi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like HVAC is the most bipolar.
Oh yeah. I've
And-
heard that. Like we're looking into adding plumbing, and we actually purchased a plumbing company 4 years ago, and then it was not a right fit. Like it was not a right person to add to our team. But it's gonna come down the line. But I've heard from everyone's like, oh, you have to add plumbing. You have to add plumbing.
Once you add plumbing,
Yeah.
it's not like plumbing is just consistent work year round and you
Yeah.
can count on it. And HVAC makes you feel like you're losing your freaking mind on a regular basis. And we're part-time weathermen or women, weather people, right? But plumbing, so once you add that, and I didn't realize it was going to be like that. I just didn't think it would be. I just thought it would be the same, and it's not.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So were
Thank
you guys plumbers before you were HVAC?
No.
Okay, you're HVAC. Right.
Yeah, Oscar's done HVAC for over 30 years now. But
Okay.
But I think really, I mean, when I was running Sky was HVAC too, primarily before we added plumbing and electrical. And I think, if you can do HVAC and you can do it well, adding plumbing and electric is easy because it is
Yeah.
more consistent. There's
That's
not
what
the highs and the
everyone says,
lows.
and it's like
It's not
we're
that
just like, we're
bipolar,
always like
weather dependent.
focused on okay, let's just perfect HVAC. Let's perfect HVAC, and it's like we're never perfect.
it's literally not. I need everybody, make me a meme. It is not possible to perfect HVAC. It is ever changing.
And it's a month to month,
That's
like great month, and you don't know what even hit, and then the next month is just like, oh my gosh, what happened?
So many weather pieces, but then you start adding like refrigerant changes and this and that and the equipment pricing and then
changes, and yeah.
And then the plumbing at the end of the day, it's all different. And the scariest part about plumbing to me is when you start digging or the unknown, like what's under the ground that you don't know about and those types of things. And you're like, oh crap, Yeah, those are the things that can get you. But it's still consistent because it doesn't really matter what time of year it is. Like stuff like drains are still an issue and it doesn't matter if it's cold. I mean, it gets actually crazier when it's cold, but it's still like crazy when it's not. So crazy. So what lessons, going back to like your grandfather and great uncle, how many years ago is that? I can't even math.
I wasn't even born when because I never met my grandpa. Never met. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny because trying to think of like what my parents would say, my mom joined when I was like 5. So she asked my dad, how do you know if you're making money? And he's like, well, I just look in the checkbook to see if there's money in it. And so my mom had worked for the IRS.
Oh boy.
She was stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home mom came on full time to start doing like the books and things like that because she was like, okay. And then she like came in and realized they weren't billing things and just, just normal, like, learning to be business, people. But
what foundations do you think they set that you guys still use or carry through today?
I will just joining best practice groups, learning as much as you can. implementing as much you can. I was really fortunate. Like, I think back to, I started going to, SGI meetings when, Terry Nicholson and Jim Abrams Terry Young were still talking to it, to us. And it was just, it was like just learning from them, like basically the basics of, club memberships, making sure that you're billing and collecting at the time of service, all those foundational things that, how important answering the call was. I mean, we were sending call center, trainings at, 20 years ago. Just, the basics to get your business on right and you're doing the right things to grow. Dispatching per profits. I in my senior year of college, I actually did a paper on like why we were choosing a technicians to go versus location. And my professor was so like, this is crazy. Like, this is so simple, but like, don't people think of that, that we're choosing the right technician to go to calls versus dispatching by location.
Isn't that so funny too? Because like we've done that for years and there's still people that'll come to work for us and be like, why are you doing it this way? And you can get anywhere in Tulsa in like 15 minutes, really. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But they're, and it's so crazy how many people still operate that way, of just location. And I'm like, that is not the best way to do things.
Yeah.
It's not. It's finding the right technician for the call.
For sure. So what's your plan? Like, what's the hope for CNC, for Dayna, or your family?
We always talk about like our kids are always referred to as fourth generation. So, they're 5 and 3. So we have a couple of years until they join the business. And if they even want to, we're going to keep it family owned and operated, and just kind of grow it from there. Or just,
How have you fought the PE battle?
We just don't even entertain it. It's not even, it's not even looked at. Like, we're still in our same location that we were in 1948. Like, we're still, the road that we're on was a dirt road when we first opened. And my great aunt and uncle had a house on the back of our property. We're kind of outgrowing the space, but we're gonna, do some reconfiguration. But
I was just going to ask, like, you've grown so much. How are you still in the same building? We're busting at the seams at quality.
We still have, I think we have about 1 more acre back behind us, so we can build backwards. But the biggest thing is parking.
We know.
Oh yeah.
So that's been fun, but we're figuring it out.
We don't, that's the same thing as everyone's always like dangling carrots and or trying to like PE. And I'm pretty strong-willed and have a big opinion of it. But also
as do I.
Quality was built for more than that. And I just don't think I would have the heart to live in the same community and see.
I have some kind of flexibility in my schedule and the things that I get to do every day. For some people, that's great. That's a great exit strategy. It's just not for us. And so we haven't even entertained it. And
I love that your plan is for your kids to be involved and all of that. Like,
I mean, it's awesome. Like, I grew up here. So for me, it's very sentimental.
Yeah.
And, I just want to carry on the family tradition and, continue to service our community the way they should be. You hear about these, people come in and then it's just not the same. We have, you're talking about all the employees that you feed, like they depend on us. Like it's, I don't know. I have some kind of responsibility to them too.
That's the biggest piece for me is my responsibility to this team. Yeah. And I can't, it's not even just like, there's too many horror stories out there that we can't even get into. But
I know. Like, and to me, it doesn't even matter. Like, that's their choice. Like, I'm completely okay with it. Like, good for you, but it's just not for us.
There's so many opinions that think that businesses like ours can't continue to sustain in the environment that's coming. And
I argue that we're beginning to thrive. So I
100%. I think that businesses like ours are showing that we are what the customer wants. The customer does not want what they've been getting from these other.
We want to deal with the locally owned. They want to see that they're helping, families in their own communities. It's just,
And back to the people too. I mean, all of your employees, I've been through it. And, Cassie knows the whole story. I've been through it. And it's not fun to lose control of the ability you have to provide for. We, at the time that we sold the business that I was working for, we had over 100 employees.
Okay. Yep.
And it's very hard to walk away from that.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. And I mean, I can't even if I were working for someone and it didn't work out and then I'm almost pushed out of the business that I helped create and build, there's too many horror stories. It's just not for us. And
again, we hope
I told my dad, and he loved this, that I would love to see it in our family for 100 years. So that would be 24 years from now. No, 23 years from now. So I'll be turning 65. My boys will be in their 20s. So at that point, we'll know, and, we'll know if they'd be interested in doing it. But
I think, I just want to recap of no judgment to the people that was the route that they chose. I just think that it's important to know that if that isn't your route, that there are two companies that are sitting here talking today that are both doing really big money and doing really big things. And that is not the route that we're choosing to take or have ever on our plans, and we're thriving. And don't let people get into your head and manipulate you. And
the biggest thing is don't get bullied by people. I feel like there's a lot of people why aren't you selling? What's going on? Blah 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 blah. And it's just it's just not for us. That's just how it goes. And
it's they think that we're missing out on something, or that something's wrong with us because we didn't sell. No,
and I think it's literally.
Yeah, I don't want to deal. I want this still.
I love what I do every day. I enjoy it. I take pride that this is still family owned for 77 years. And, I want to see that continue.
That's amazing. I mean, that just itself is amazing.
Well, Dayna, it's been so great talking with you.
Yeah, nice talking to you
learn about CNC. I have loved to watch you guys grow, just our friendship, but getting to see the things and your kids and all of that stuff. And I know we'll catch up with you at some Nextstar events. I know that if you are a Nextstar, Dayna is big with women of Nextstar, which I am awful at attending the meetings, but doing better at. Trying to do better at. I always tell them, how do I have a podcast for women? And I forget.
You know what? They have lunch and learns on Wednesdays, and I can never attend because we have a marketing meeting at noon on Wednesday. So it's sorry.
Yeah. It's a conflict or whatever. But anyways, it's been great talking to you. I know that you're going to inspire several people listening of what is out there, and you're showing people to do that. I know Dayna is on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the things, right? LinkedIn.
Yes,
did I do that? Okay.
Yep,
cool.
everything.
So we'll make sure to include in the show notes on how to contact her. And it was great talking with you today, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Dayna.
You're welcome.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review at Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.